running the race of faith by whose standard? Welcome to day 44 of our 90-day challenge. If you've been inspired so far, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the powerful lessons ahead. Let's keep growing together on this journey of faith. Today's reading, 1 Corinthians chapters 7-9, takes us deep into some key principles that shape our Christian walk: marriage, purity, love, and perseverance. These chapters challenge us to live by God's standard, not just what feels right or what society tells us. Paul reminds us that marriage is not just a formality, it is meant to preserve purity. In a world where sexual impurity is glorified, the Bible calls believers to a different standard. Some think spirituality means abstaining from intimacy in marriage, but Paul tells us otherwise. The husband belongs to his wife, and the wife belongs to her husband. They should not withhold from each other. But what happens when one spouse becomes a believer and the other does not? Paul advises that if the unbelieving spouse chooses to stay, the marriage should continue. But if they leave, the believer is not bound. However, a believer should never be the one initiating separation, but should always pursue reconciliation. Are we living in a way that honors purity, both before and within marriage? Do we see marriage as a covenant of love and commitment, or just a legal contract? If faced with differences in faith, are we reflecting Christ's love in our relationships? Moving into chapter 8, Paul shifts the focus to something deeper: love over knowledge. It's easy to get caught up in theological debates, in proving that we know more than others. But knowledge without love leads to pride. Paul reminds us that our freedoms should never cause a weaker believer to stumble. True Christian maturity isn't about how much we know, it's about how much we love. Do we prioritize being right over being kind? Are we willing to sacrifice personal liberties for the sake of others' spiritual growth? How do we treat those who are weaker in faith? Do we correct them harshly or guide them in love? Paul closes with a powerful analogy. Our Christian walk is like a race, and not just any race, one with an eternal prize. Many people start strong but fail to finish well. Paul calls us to discipline ourselves just like an athlete training for victory. Our goal is not just to run, but to run in a way that pleases God. Are we running this Christian race with purpose, or are we just drifting? Do we discipline ourselves spiritually, just as an athlete trains for victory? Are we truly living by God's standard, or have we created our own version of Christianity? These chapters challenge us to examine our faith. Are we conforming to God's principles, or are we letting the world set our standards? Do we love deeply, live purely, and run our race with endurance? Let today be a moment of reflection. Align yourself with God's truth, seek reconciliation where needed, love selflessly, and commit to running this race with perseverance, by God's standard, not man's. So let me ask you, whose standard of Christianity are you following? If this message has blessed you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue growing in faith together. See you tomorrow for day 45.